Hello, world. World of people.
Hello, everyone.
Ooh, this is great. I'm over here looking at the new layout in Restream. They keep upgrading things, which is, I guess, a good thing.
Yeah, right on.
How's everybody doing? If you guys are following us live, which I see there are some people watching, please get in the chat and say hello. We are excited to be back,
It
aren't we?
feels like we've been on a long, epic journey.
Right.
Yeah, a lot's happened since our last consistent live, right?
Right.
Yeah,
It's the summer. It's the craziness of the summer.
yeah, we're back.
But this is good. I mean, it's for a good reason, right? Hey, there's Renee.
Hi,
Hi, Renee.
Renee.
we we intentionally have this kind of it's planned craziness in the summer because
Right.
we need a little bit of a break from
Right.
ourselves, not being each other, but like my own mind needs a break from
Yeah,
me every once in a while.
yeah, for
Hello,
real.
LinkedIn user.
Hello, LinkedIn user.
I'm putting it on the screen on purpose. I
Let's
want
make it
everyone.
personal. Dear LinkedIn user, comma.
I need people to see this so that they believe me when I say LinkedIn just doesn't put your name up there. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know, it's a good thing or a bad thing for LinkedIn, but they're very funny about sharing information, which can be good. So let us know who you are, LinkedIn user.
That's hilarious. Hand pink waving, hand pink waving, hand pink waving.
The emojis have struck again.
Yes, I love it. I
Yeah,
love
this
it.
is another thing to share. Look at this. There you go.
Yeah.
This is what some emojis come through.
That's what I said. I was just going to say, nice to see you, smiling face with sunglasses.
That's a great way to do. Oh, that's fun.
Our car reads them out loud. So when I send Byron a text, like I'll say, okay. And then I'll say, smiling face with sunglasses, red heart, star with sparkles, rainbow,
It just
red
reads them
book,
out loud.
blue book. And it just keeps going on forever.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. So Pops is on. Hello, I'm back.
Hi, Charlie.
Hey,
Hey.
he's
And
doing
then
the YouTube.
Wayne in Canada.
That's who our LinkedIn user was.
Okay.
Now he's in Canada, usually in Egypt.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Egypt and Canada, virtually indistinguishable.
Yeah, same place.
Exactly the same. Yes. Camels and
Ma-
Canucks.
Maple syrup.
Really the same. Basically the same. Basically the same.
Now, where Wayne, are you in Vancouver? Where he lives in Canada is beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Let's see, head exploding emoji. Yes, thank you, Renee.
I actually sent her a text message recently with that at the end, and it
Oh,
read it to her, and so she called me right away because she said it read your text to me and it ended with head exploding emoji, so I thought I would call and find out what was happening.
excellent.
Yes,
So
it's funny
we,
to hear the description.
yes, yeah. Oh, they'll be in DC. Yeah. Okay. There
Yeah,
you go. See, Wayne just never sits still. He's going all over the place. Be in DC on Monday. I don't know if you been to Vancouver before, Honoree?
I have not been to Vancouver.
Beautiful.
No, I've seen
It's
pictures of it. I've only
yeah,
been to Toronto.
gotcha.
Is that true? No, I've been to Montreal, but I was on a private jet and I went to a hockey game and then I went back to New York on a private jet. So I didn't stay overnight. I was only there a
Uh,
few hours. Yeah.
was this while you were working with the NHL?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out where the private jet came from.
Yes. It's mine. No,
Ah, that'd be great. I'd
I
be
mean, right?
be like, hey, send the private jet for the
Yes,
next
I'm going to
EBM meeting.
send for you. I've sent for you. We're going to summer. We're going to summer on the vineyard.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Or up in the Hamptons.
Yes.
Here we go. Oh, good. We have Jen.
We have
Hello,
Jen.
Jen. So now we have Jen in Atlanta.
Yeah.
We have Wayne in Vancouver. Renee's in Ohio or
Renee's in an
Pennsylvania,
undisclosed location
right?
in Ohio.
In Ohio. She is, or we also have Pops is in Baltimore.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We have all kinds of stuff going
You
on.
know, have all kinds of locations. I was a guest on John Stongi's platform launchers group the other night, and we filled up the whole Zoom with no two states duplicated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
It was people from all over the place.
We're
And
kind of doing that right now. Now that I think about it,
that's what we're doing, because you're in
I'm in
an
Virginia.
undisclosed location and I'm in an undisclosed location.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes. And
This
this
is how.
method self-destruct in, I don't know, 23
That's
years.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how we keep things exciting, people. We just keep ourselves from knowing
Yeah,
where
we go
even where
from
we
place
are.
to place, but our background stays exactly the same.
Yeah, I should do that. I should take a picture of this and just make it a digital
That's
background.
right. That's right. Everybody does
So
the same.
so what have you been doing lately? Have you been I mean, besides the obvious amazingness of just being all over the greater area where you live, spreading all the great news about books. What
Great.
else has been
Yeah.
going on?
Well, I had some vacation. So over 6 weeks, I took 4 weeks of vacation.
Wow.
And it took me, I think the last 5 days of vacation, I was like doing a countdown. Only 5 more days of vacation, only 4 more days of vacation, which is a really good indicator that I love what I do. And it took me about 12 hours into my vacation to want to go, or back from vacation to want to go back on vacation. I was back for 12 hours and I was like, oh no, why was I in such a hurry to come back to this?
Take it back.
An unusual. Okay, hold please. Carry on for 1 second.
Yes, not at all a problem. So we've got Jen saying hello to Renee.
Yeah.
There you go. Got to share that so that they can see each other's comments. So another thing that's really interesting about using a streaming platform for those that are interested in doing this one day. Not sure if it's really interesting right now. Oh, it's Rogue. Rogue.
This is why I had to open the door. I had shut the door.
That's my buddy.
She had a nose. Her nose was in the door. So she was just going to scratch at the door for the whole hour. Okay, get down. Lay down. Okay, you're cute. We love you. Oh, I love you, baby. Yes, lay down.
I like to think it's because she knows that we're talking. And
yes.
Just a big fan.
It's Lucas, huh, baby? Okay, lay down. Lay down. Like I'm not doing anything without a treat.
That's it. Ella doesn't come in my basement. So I'm now down in the basement. She just doesn't I guess she just doesn't want to come down here. I've got a dog bed for her, but she's avoiding me unless someone else brings her down. Then she'll stay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You afraid of what happens in the basement?
No, I just think she's funny with she's like, I don't know, you should see this dog walk downstairs. You never know she's a pit bull. Yeah. She's like so delicate walking downstairs.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's all you're getting. She's like,
man,
she's got her little ears up. She's like,
yeah.
Oh, do I get another treat, Mom?
Yeah, she knows there's a supply there.
Yes, I have a treat jar because if she's being naughty downstairs and I'm up here on a video, I can't do what I just did from 3 minutes. Bye, Lucas. I'll be back in 3 minutes. So I can just shake the treat jar.
Look, Rogue is turning out to be the most popular.
That's right.
character in this show. So she's gotten comments from Pop. She's beautiful. Of course, Renee's saying hello. Is Auntie Renee?
Yes.
Jen saying she's the prettiest dog in the world. I love it. This is all fun.
Yes, Rogue is. Our animals are very popular. So since we last had our live, we lost Mr. Pickles.
Yeah, poor Pickles.
We can give a minute to Mr. Pickles after 15 years. And Rogue and Frappuccino have both been given the diagnosis of anxious after we lost him. So we were on vacation, which was really staycation. And then I came back, and on Tuesday, the audiobook for the best-selling book formula went live. It is published by none other than Podium Publishing.
Really?
Yep. And Podium is the largest publisher of audiobooks. They were the company that originally did The Martian. So
really?
So I met one of the founders of Podium years ago, my friend James Ton, and went to an author's party at a book conference, and they do it right. And I thought, someday I'm going to be a real boy. Someday I'm going to have a podium. Someday I'm going to be a podium author. And that day was Tuesday. So I was really excited that they've acquired 2 titles that they're creating the audiobooks for. So I'm super excited about it.
I'm going to pull a link to the audiobook.
Awesome. It's exclusively on Audible, if that's helpful. And I finished my next book, and it's off to the proofer. So Karen's already worked her magic on it, and now it's off to Catherine. And I'm working on the next one.
Now, this is the best-selling book formula.
Yes, the audio for the best-selling book formula.
Right. Yeah. For those that are looking, because you do have multiple titles on Audible, but this one in particular is produced by Podium. I am going to try and get the link off of this, but this is a fun link. Amazon, thank you.
If you go to audible.com and do a search for it, it actually gives you a nicer sharing link.
That's where I'm at now. There it is. Copy that link. All right, I'm going to drop this in the chat, folks. So if you are so inclined to go check this out, which I would love to see you guys.
I wish you all could see Rogue. She's on my yoga mat. Yeah, so she just did downward dog, and now she's laying down. So I think she's doing corpse puppy pose right now.
Nice. Yeah. All right, there it is. That's the link to the best-selling book formula, now out on audiobook.
Yeah.
Another cool thing about Audible is if you don't have an Audible account, use this as an opportunity for you to use your credit, right? So you can get a free book with a trial subscription.
Yep.
So you can pick a title and use that for your trial. So you could use this book for that.
Yep, you sure can.
The other cool thing about the best-selling book formula audiobook is that it's just under 2 hours. So it's great if you're the kind of person like me where you listen in 20 to 60 minute sprints.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So who did the narration on the book?
A gal named Carolyn Jania. Yeah,
Excellent.
so professional narrator. She was one of the 3 choices they sent me, and I chose her, and they just whipped it out. I worked so hard. Not at all. I answered emails. Is this okay? Yes. Is this okay? Yes. This is fantastic. Should we proceed? Yes. And I always try to be their favorite, right? So they would say, we'd like you to listen and choose by next week. You have a week and 2 hours. I was like, here's my choice.
That's a testament to Podium being so great with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted them to, I want to be one of their favorite authors, right? I may not be the author that sells the most books or, initially, but over time, I really want to be the person that they go, she's really easy to work with. She's really fun to work with. She's really responsive, because I've heard sometimes in different aspects, someone will say, they have a lot of money with us in investments, or they have a really big budget, but they're not responsive. They don't respond to emails. It takes forever for them to get back to you. And that's really frustrating when someone's trying to do something for you and they don't respond. It's really
right.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not a small project either, right? Like there's a lot of moving pieces.
That's right.
Publishing a book, publishing an audiobook, whatever. And so that delay like stacks a whole line of tasks.
That's right. It sure does.
And you never know what's coming next, especially when you're not the one running the project. So.
Right. I just look for their emails and try to answer them as quickly as possible.
Excellent. Well, yeah, good lesson on professionalism when working with with someone like anyone that's offering you professional services, right?
Right. Well, even when you're the client, one of the first questions I ask before I engage with someone is, how can I be your favorite client? What do your favorite clients do in terms of behavior, those sorts of things? So that's not the topic of our discussion. And I know we want to get into that, but what have you been doing? Well, I've been off, doing all the things. What are you doing?
I've been reading a tremendous amount, working some course projects for some amazing clients, 2 in particular, who just have been wonderful to work with. And then I have been enjoying, I don't know. I had an art copy of someone's book that was fantastic.
You got like a way advanced dirty copy. You, you got the copy that no one reads.
Right. Yeah. It was actually still so flippin' good.
Oh, you.
Yeah, it was just amazing. So I spent some good quality time getting smarter by reading that book, and then of course I've been pushing the course pricing strategies manuscript over the finish line to publication.
Nice. Where is it in the process right now?
So Dino, for those who don't know, Dino Marino is we're related but not related. He does all the interior and exterior design for our nonfiction books, and so Dino has my interior design right now.
Yep.
And actually, speaking of emails, I owe him an email today to give him some feedback on a wonderful interior design he's doing on that book. So, yeah, the cover was released a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Dude,
So
let me
good.
just brag on Dino real quick.
Yeah, please. I approve this message.
This is the second cover in a row where he's been like, "Hey, here's the first swing at the bat. What do you think?" And I'm like, "That's it. We're done." Like, he just knocks it out of the park. The first time, I gave him very little to work with as far as
Yep.
like direction.
What you wanted. Yeah.
Right. We talked more about theme and feel and all the things, so he could put something together. The second time, I was like, "Hey, I've got some ideas. What do you think? You're the pro. Those are great. I'll talk to you, in just a little bit." And then boom, this cover comes over, and I'm like, "It's perfect. It's perfect. Let's rock and roll." So
Yeah.
Dino's amazing. So yeah, the cover release, I did a cover reveal I think it was like a week or two ago, on all the socials, and that was like, I don't know. I always tell people it's like one of the better parts of like the book publications, like when you see the cover for the first time, you're like, yes, let's get this out there. It's real.
Yes. Well, it's also fun to send him some ideas.
Hmm.
I'll say, this is the color I want it to be if I know, right? If I
Right.
know if I want the main color, the theme or whatever, any type of graphic, and I'll send it over. And I have like this, have you ever seen that picture where it says, where there's a beautiful painting, an oil painting of a horse, and then there's like a hand drawing by a third grader?
Yes.
Right. So in my mind, it's the third grader because I'm not a designer, but he sends it back to me like an oil painting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I open it for the first time, it's usually on my phone, and it takes my breath away. It's just
Right.
so awesome to do that. Yeah.
I like waking up to those emails. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you
Yeah.
wake up and you're like, oh, it's like kind of like a Christmas morning. It's you see this email come in and it's just amazing. So oftentimes we're in way different time zones than the people working with us.
Yeah.
They're on the other side of the country, or whatever. Dino
Yeah.
happens to be a few away, and it's always cool. And I get that first email, and it's like, hey, here's your cover. Really cool.
Yes,
Um,
for sure.
oh, here we go. Jen, I'm one of your favorite book geeks. Well, we have some pretty geeky conversations, Jen. When you and I start talking about these things, I'm like, oh, did you see this diagram? She's right there with me. Yeah,
Yep.
Dino just did fantastic. So, anyways, this cover is in the same flavor as Monetize Your Book of the Course, but it's inverted. Instead of having the dark theme, it's
Oh,
lighter theme.
smart. Yeah.
And the book itself is like, I'm just really excited about the book because it was probably, I was a little intimidated when I thought about writing the book at first. It's
Okay.
a very subjective title or a topic. Pricing is not very cut and dry, especially in a market that's as ambiguous in pricing as
Great. Yeah.
courses are.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got everything from free to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and there's no rules, there's no standard, there's no norms yet. They're starting to you're starting to get some norms in certain areas, but it's almost driven by industry and topic type and not so much by buyer behaviors yet. So,
Great. Do you
so that,
think that at some point it will be? Or will
um,
it always stay like books? Like there's the general rules of thumb and the 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 windows, but then there are always going to be the people that say my book is $100 and I'm only going to sell it on my website. Well, do you think we're going to have some commoditization, but then there's still going to be the outliers, the people that just go, I'm going to do whatever I want to do?
Right. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think, and I do compare it to books in the book. I talk about books being a very well established industry for pricing, and that you kind of have buyer expectations now when you go into a bookstore or you go online. You kind of expect to pay a certain range for an ebook, a paperback, a hardcover, a
Right.
textbook versus a non-textbook. Those kinds of things. We're kind of conditioned by the market. Well, a lot of what drives that is the traditional publishers have over many years kind of set these standards. In the course world, there is no traditional publisher, and
Right.
so it makes it where like that a lot of these things are kind of falling on the creators, and the creators are starting to compete with each other. And so yes, I feel like the markets are going to be driven by competition, but it's going to be within the markets, and it's going to be at the control of the creators, the people who are hosting the courses, rather than business entities. Rogue is very. What is she bringing you? What is that?
This is a fish.
Oh, ah,
So she
dude,
gets a bark box because
I
she's
need
not
one of those for
spoiled
Ella.
enough. Yes.
Who makes
So
that?
bark box.
Bark box.
So bark box, you can get a subscription. What is it? Look at her. He's like, there's nothing in it.
Yeah, she's put.
Are you dumb or stupid, Mom? What do you
Yeah, put the treat in the thing.
put the treat in the fish? We have been through this before. I have trained you. I don't understand what the problem is. But she's been down here this whole time. She's tried this side. She went to the other side and was staring at me over the desk.
I
And
love.
okay. All right, come over here.
She's like, look, I hear you. I hear you, Marino. The whole thing with the court, but that's not as important as treats. Come on, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, she will. She's pretty spoiled. She has a couple of things like that that she'll bring to me, and if I'm watching TV, she's like, "Boom, it's empty. Bring it to me." Yeah, and Renee says she's bringing it to me. Yes, because Renee spoils her too, for sure.
That's pretty funny. See, Ella's like on a diet. We've got, Ella when she came in and they were like, "Hey, look at her." I'm like,
Yeah, we did get in trouble.
I got
Also,
my hand slapped when I put her on the scale last time. So we're giving ice cubes right now for treats.
oh, that's a good idea. We're doing carrots, but I don't have any
Oh,
carrots handy right now. So she's working me hard because Dad's on the tractor and I'm on a live. So she's just hovering. She's just doing the live, which means we're not talking about course pricing strategies. So let's go back to course pricing strategies. Uh, Rogue, Rogue, we have to make money to pay for the treats.
that's how this works, Rogue.
That's how this works, Rogue. Like,
You think treats grow on
that's
trees?
right. That's right. Mommy has to work right now.
I love it. You know what though? Like, that's what a nice thing to have. To have
Yeah.
that kind of
What a nice
day.
interruption, right? Like,
It's so much
yeah,
better than other ones.
yeah.
Like, oh, look, there's water coming through the ceiling.
Okay.
I
Right.
had that happen once, not at my
Bite your
house.
tongue. Bite your tongue, Lucas.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody one time and their eyes were like dinner plates and they were like, "Hey, I've got to go for a minute." And I was like, "Okay." And then like they come back like a minute later. I don't know what to do, but water's coming through my ceiling. I'm like, "I know what that is, and yes, you need to leave." So
Yes. Turn off
find the cutout valve to the house.
the cutout. Yeah. So now we're on this side.
Hey, I was actually on a podcast interview for my fiction podcast the other day with an author in the UK, and she's very professional and she owns a small print. And she's in the middle of explaining something, and all of a sudden there's this insane knocking at the door. Like, not like no one's yelling police, open the door, but that's what it felt like.
Oh,
And she just doesn't miss a beat. She just keeps talking, and I'm like, okay. And then it's like going and go. I'm like, do I need to let you go? And she's like, no, it's the kids next door. And she's just smiling, and I'm like, well, I can edit all of this. So, why don't we back up and I give you a chance to say that again?
you know what 2020 did? 2020 gave us the opportunity to have random animals right? Random cats walking across the screen, kids having a meltdown in the back
It's
room,
great.
FedEx delivering something, the fire alarm going off.
Yeah.
When I used to do meetings on Zoom before 2020, I would threaten everyone. There's nobody making any noise. No one's running any water. We're not flushing any toilets. If you need water, get it now. I'd leave a sign on the door, like, everyone, we're in the studio. We're live, right?
That's it.
No noise. Now there's an explosion. It's fine. Rogue
Yeah.
jumps up on the chair. It's
Hey,
fine.
Rogue.
Yeah. So
That's where we're at.
that's
We've
where
progressed.
we are. We've
I think
evolved as a people.
yeah, some people like the more relaxed thing. I
I
do.
think everyone likes the more relaxed thing. Although
Yeah.
some people were too relaxed, but
But you know, what's funny is like, you know, our viewer count goes up with those, which is a testament to your. So if you're out there and you're thinking like you got to have really tight reins, I'm just telling you, some of these videos where we have, I'm not saying these is in this video, but our live videos are much more relaxed and conversational and kind of take it as it comes. And we get fantastic viewership on them. So
interesting.
yeah, just figure that out.
Rogue, you're paying for yourself. She's a revenue generating machine, this dog.
She is.
Yeah. Yeah, her little tail's just like wag, 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 wag. Yes.
Yeah.
Are you pretty? Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah,
I have a
so
feeling
anyway.
there's a bark coming on, but just prepare yourself.
We'll be prepared.
I'm not performing to my duties appropriately right now, so she's getting more and more spoiled as the minutes pass.
Feel free to pet it, Will.
I am. I've got I got one hand is on the job. Let's go back to the book because I'm super curious about it. Is it as long as the first book? Because it's a niche topic. So were you able to? I mean, it obviously it's a niche topic, but there are a lot of ways to think about pricing a course. And correct me if I'm incorrect. Everything from how many videos, how many resources.
Right.
How many chapters or sections? What's the audience of the instructor? Are they experienced or are they new? How did you, if it's only the size of the original book, which is not insignificant, how did you keep it small? And did you attempt to make the content evergreen so that you wouldn't have to go back and update it every year?
Yeah, it's a really good question because it was a little bit of a challenge with this one because when you niche into, first of all, the book is definitely niched more toward the business side of course pricing, like thinking about it from a business perspective, because I feel like a lot of times we're creators or we're, especially in the nonfiction space where we've got this great thing that we're teaching people and it's a revenue generator for our business. But then when we get to the topic of pricing, we start to focus on sometimes the wrong business elements or put too much weight on one thing over the other in the decision. And I really wanted to like show them the whole world of like, these are all the inputs that should inform your pricing and different pricing structures and maybe some things that they're not used to thinking about or haven't really been reading or exposed to. And not so much about like, because there is no standard again for like, if you have a course that's like all in video content and it's this long, it equals this much money. You kind of have to like, you have to kind of like let go of thinking about the time relationship to the course. I have a whole chapter on like avoiding pricing by time and materials.
Yep.
And then in other areas, I talk about pricing by time and materials when it's most appropriate. And just kind of figuring out like where you should apply time and materials thinking and where you should not. For those that aren't familiar with time and materials, it's like a kind of like a contractual kind of sounding term. When you do a price estimate and you're thinking like, I have to construct something of X amount of materials and it's going to take X amount of time. I know the materials cost this much and I know the time is charged at this labor rate. And so if I just do that and put them together, I know how much I'm going to charge. And you can't really do that with like an online on-demand self-paced course because it would almost never be the right price because it would be so egregiously overpriced. and because of the time investment and all the things. And I explain why that is. And at least then, if people disagree with that chapter, they can say, well, here's why I disagree. And they've thought about it logically and come to a conclusion rather than just
Right.
have this open-ended thought. So yeah, I do talk about how your course is constructed and how you should consider that in your pricing. But I start out with talking about what I call the 4 points of building your course pricing strategy. And we're talking strategy, it's like high level, like how to
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
And that's more about like the things that really move the needle. I was trying to put that up in the front, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, what do your buyers expect?
Mm-hmm.
What is your market doing right now? Like the things that really kind of like when the moment of purchase is happening, what's really influencing the buyer's decision? Because you're not there to guide them. And
Right.
if you don't take that into consideration, like what are they used to, what are they expecting, how did you promote this, all the things, you're going to have to make up for that in your marketing somewhere else to make
Right.
sure that that's done. So, back in North America. Oh, there we go. That's Wayne talking about being back in the States, or not in the States, but in North America. So he's talking about the monetize your book with a course.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so I didn't want to dive into these topics that deeply and monetize your book with a course. The same as I didn't want to like write a whole tome on course marketing.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
kept those two topics separate so that I could dive into them a bit more here.
Does that mean there's a course marketing strategies book in your future?
Yes, ma'am. That will be sometime next spring. I try
Okay.
to do 2 nonfiction books a year, and
Slacker.
well,
I couldn't help it.
I am compared to some people on the call.
So did you talk about topics, or are you talking about topics like you would pay more for a course if you were evaluating um, what the value of an antique is versus how to write a kid's book?
Right,
Because
like the
right,
income, right?
yeah, how rare is your expertise and how deep do you go? Do you talk about those options as well?
Yeah, a little bit. So in the very beginning, on the 4 points, I talk about the value or the perceived value of your outcome of your course is really important for your pricing strategy. So if I'm selling a course that teaches people how to, and I'm just going to use something really basic, and no, I won't do the peanut butter and jelly because we
Foods.
always do that. Yeah, because we're both starving, right? So,
Yes.
um, and there I go. So like, but if I'm teaching someone like something like tying your shoes, there's not a lot of like financial benefit to that for people. So they're not going to
Right.
pay $1,000 for that course, right? Not only that, but there's a ton of options out there. They could have
Mhm.
someone, there's so much that competes with your price. So one is your competitors' prices. Anyone else selling a course on tying your shoes probably not going to be charging that much. The value of the outcome for the learner is the second point. So how valuable is this outcome for me if I take your course?
Mm.
So if you do have very like niched, valuable expertise and you're conveying that in the course and it's done well enough where if those people take your course, they can then turn around and use that knowledge to enrich
Yes.
their lives in that way, the value of your course is more substantial than if they couldn't do that.
It would be cool if you had the how to tie your shoes on the low end and how to design and sell shoes. Like
Right.
how to design and launch a custom shoe company or design a new type of shoe. I see
Right.
lots of advertisements for comfortable women's heels,
Mm.
which is a lie. Liars, all of them.
I'll take your word for it.
But they are they're more and more prevalent as people say, oh, I want to make shoes out of recycled materials. Rothy's makes shoes out of recycled water bottles.
Mm.
And then there's a couple of other shoe companies that say they're really, really comfortable so you can be on your feet for days. Again, liars. Liars, I've tried them all. Um, but it would be interesting if someone said, I wanted to create a brand new type of shoe, and this is how I went about identifying manufacturers, designing the shoes, sizing the shoes, testing out
Right.
the shoes, testing out materials, those sorts of things. That would be infinitely fascinating. I would love for someone to do a course on starting a t-shirt company or something like that, right? So I think there's the difference between here's a basic fundamental skill that every person needs to have, and what if they don't have parents? What if there's a single parent that doesn't have
Right.
time, right? That would be a really great course to be able to offer.
Sure.
But then on
Yeah.
the other side, the entrepreneur side, um, what do I need to know in order to start this venture? That's a
Right.
higher value course, probably more complex and in depth. So I love that you're addressing that in the book so that
Yeah.
people know what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, and I actually put this right up front. So the very first chapter is about confidence and thinking about like the world of pricing, just very brief, kind of like, hey, you're here for a reason, and here's what that world looks like, and this is why this matters. But I don't dwell on that. It's not like a dissertation on, the complexities of course pricing. It's like it's a real thing that you have to kind of think through, and you need to learn how to think about your prices since there isn't a standard. So let's go do that. And then the very next thing I do is present those 4 points. The competitor's pricing is one. The second is the value of your outcome for your learner. The third is the cost of your course delivery and formatting. And the fourth is industry norms and learner spending habits. Now, those aren't in order of precedence or priority or importance.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, they're all very important, but if I had to pick one out of all of them that you just absolutely can't ignore, it's the industry norms and learner spending habits, because that if your buyers aren't willing to buy because you're so out of alignment with their expectations, it's not going to matter what anyone else is doing. It's not going to matter how valuable the outcome is. It's really difficult, right? So let's say you're going to go buy a pair of shoes, and you go into the store, and most of the shoes are priced in a range, right? Because there's some competition there. So
Yep.
they're looking at each other's prices. So that lends to point number one. But inevitably, there's going to be one brand off to the side that just is way out of step with the price. Way out of step. Sorry. Pun, I guess,
Nice job.
intended.
Nice job. Nice job.
That was free and instantaneous, folks. But yeah, I mean, if they are so outside the norm, one, it's going to catch your attention. Why is that shoe $500? And then the second thing that's going to happen is you're going to think that's crazy, right? Like, I'm not conditioned to think that's an acceptable price for a pair of dude shoes because
How
they're just
much?
500. Look, Tammy might be listening, so that's a crazy price for a shoe. Guy, you can tell I'm like wearing sneakers most of the time. So, yeah. So like there's expectations formed by the industry, the norms, my
Right.
expectations as a
Right.
buyer. They would be crazy not to consider that, even if they didn't look at their competitors' prices. What do our buyers expect to pay?
Of
Now,
course.
there are brands that are premium brands that can charge many times that, and their buyers know that and expect that and are conditioned to associate that with their brand, and that
And if
means
the
that's
shoe's
okay.
on sale, you wonder if it's a Fugazi.
Right. Yeah. You might be, yeah,
Yeah.
Canal Street, right?
Yeah. In case anybody doesn't know what a Fugazi is, that's a little throwback from my New York living many years ago. It's a fake, right? You
Yeah.
think, it was $1,500. Now it's $395 or $393. And you
Yeah.
go, it must be a fake
Yeah. Take a
because
trip
there's
down to
no
Canal
way.
Street, get
Yeah,
a
there's
pair
no
of,
way this is real.
yeah, get your Chinatown handbags. So,
Yeah, there's some store, is it Steinmart? Somebody does high-end stuff at low prices and they got busted for pretending like it was real and
well,
um thanks for explaining the term. Yes, you're welcome. I'm here to fully educate you on all aspects of this stuff. But I think it's so interesting because if the course is too cheap, some people will assume that um, that it's not good. You have to charge a lot.
right.
There's some people that say if you charge a lot, then you're overcharging and you're taking advantage of people. That's a
Mm-hmm.
conversation or an argument we could have all day. But there are also people who say if it doesn't cost a lot, it must not be any good. I'm always very pleasantly happy when I discover something that is less than I think it could be,
Mm-hmm.
and it's better than when I paid more.
That's right. You just made a really important point about value
Yes.
always exceeding the sticker price, either
Right.
equal to or
Yes.
greater than the price of the product.
Yes.
That's that
Never
perceived.
overprice and underdeliver, please.
Right. So the
Or
perceived,
overpromise and underdeliver.
right. So perceived value is that before I even buy your product, I assume or perceive that there's a certain amount of value associated with the outcome.
Right. Right.
And the product. And then when I make my purchase, I get to find out for myself. So I talk a lot about perceived value because that's what you have before the purchase. Before I buy and experience your product, whether it be your book, your course, your mastermind, whatever. By the way, almost everything in this book, I'd say probably 60 to 70% of it applies to any digital product. A lot of it is niched down and specific to courses. And that's why I talk specifically about like doing time and materials pricing for courses, because it's a very popular way to price other products. But in this particular application, you can be a little treacherous. But you're thinking about a digital product here. And so if I perceive the value of this product to be a certain number and I see a sticker price that's wildly out of step with that, whether it be too much or too little, it's going to cause me to stop. And to your point, like if I see that it's really underpriced in against what I perceive the value to be, it's going to cause me some concern that maybe this isn't either what I think it is,
Right.
or it's not sufficient quality. And that's why they can't charge more. I'm always thinking there's something wrong and it's going to cause me to hesitate purchasing.
Right.
If
And
it's
that's
way
not
overpriced.
And that's not just you because you're a course expert.
Correct.
That's just in general. I was going to
Human
say,
behavior.
Charlie, I'll buy that $200 Rolex if it's real and you are having to offload it because you have money problems, right? So there's a situational application for something being too little. I bought a whole bunch of stuff on Black Friday a couple of years ago. I think it was Black Friday of 2020. Everybody was trying to generate revenue. And so they were selling things for a third of the price for lifetime access of what a year would normally cost. So I got a couple of apps that were $150 a year. I got them for $49 for lifetime access. And I was like, buy now, because I knew they were underpriced and I would probably not see those prices again for a long time. So sometimes it's beneficial to do a sale on something, or to get something on sale knowing that it's a really good deal. I actually got a car once that someone had bought, driven off the lot, and like within a couple of weeks there was a divorce happening, so she had to give the car back. And so my friend who ran the dealership was like, I just got this car, I can give you a steal on it because I literally just sold it, so I'll still make some more money, but I can give it to you for far less than what someone paid for it 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sweet, someone else took the depreciation. So you would think, is there anything wrong with it? No, it's literally just like 12 people have taken it for a test drive. And now I got this car.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about that with the Cadillac, right? So we had an order in for a car. We were paying a factory build price for that car. And of course, it was right after the pandemic when there was a terrible, and we're still coming out of the materials crisis, but they just couldn't build the car. They had to call us and be like, hey, we can't get these certain things in your vehicle. Yeah. Of course, I'm like, I don't want to compromise at this price. So,
right.
What are we doing, guys?
I just gave you both of my kidneys.
Yes.
So you're gonna make it the way I want it.
Can I have my firstborn back now?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So there was an expectation there. Well, I got a phone call a week later from the guy at the dealership saying, you're not going to believe this, but someone just brought in almost the exact vehicle you purchased. And it's been driven for very little. The guy owned it for 3 months and then turned it in because that's how he had to buy his Cadillac. And I went in there and I got to benefit because of that. Right. So
how much did you save?
Oh my gosh.
20?
Yeah, close to $20,000. Yep. 15 to 20 grand right off the top.
Nice.
and it was almost exactly the vehicle we ordered. So anyways, there's certain things you can control and
Awesome.
there's certain things you can't control
Right.
in this
Right. Right. Right.
this world of pricing. And you should be able to like understand that your buyers feel that way. And there's
Yeah.
certain things you can't control for your buyer, but there's certain things you absolutely can. The price is one of them. The way you
Yeah.
market it is another. But you can't influence their upbringing, the experiences that person's had, their personality, their behaviors, their experience with value, which is
Right.
this is where your market really comes in. Like if you're in a market that's saturated with a bunch of yahoos that are dragging value through the mud,
Yeah. Yahoos.
you, yeah, I mean, once you get a reputation for
That's right.
having,
That's right. That's
you
right.
know,
Yep.
having a great reputation in a market like that is fantastic
That's
because
right.
you'll shine.
That's right.
But establishing a reputation in a market like that can feel a little crazy at first.
Yeah.
So, you
For
see it
sure.
with all the tech bros, on all the different platforms. You and
Uh-huh.
I have had this conversation.
Yeah.
So,
Fun to
yeah,
watch. Fun to watch.
it is fun to watch. Yeah. So, anyways, a couple other topics that are in there that might be interesting to people. I talk about affiliate and revenue shares, which you and I have shared a lot about.
Yep. Definitely.
Um, how does that impact your pricing strategy? Some people are like, do I change my price if I have affiliates?
What do you think?
Because,
What do you think about that?
well, I think if you can't afford, this is just my basic, general, high level view.
Okay.
If
Yes.
you can't afford to share revenue with a partner that helped you create the product, or if you can't afford to share some of the profit with an affiliate who helped you sell a product,
Yep.
or if you can't afford to run a promotion on your own product by yourself, then your course is priced way too low.
Oh,
So,
I have a question too. So when you're finished with this point,
yes,
I have
ma'am.
another question.
Yeah, because oftentimes we drag our price down rather than up. Like when we start getting a little bit of price guilt or concern, it's not usually that we're not, charging enough. A lot of people are worried they're charging too much. And so
Yep.
what they end up doing is dragging their price down. Sometimes it's them, they're trying to match a competitor, but there's a million ways to look at that. And I can
Yeah.
talk about that some other
Yeah.
time. But like,
Ah,
maybe your competitor's already got high volume and you don't have anything yet. So they can afford to sell a little lower. But that doesn't have anything to do with the value of my product. And I'm
right.
going to run a promotion and I'm going to survive on the money my promotion makes, not them. So like if I price
Yeah.
my course way too low and I'm losing money delivering this thing, I just literally am not even breaking even. Who am I helping here? And I've
Right.
seen this happen quite a bit where people invest a lot of money and time up front to create a course.
Yeah.
And then they're worried about getting the ROI on the back end. And they price the course so low that when you do the math, you're like, dude, you're going to be sitting on this for 2 years to
Yeah.
get break even on your perceived amount of sales. You either find a way to get like super high volume or you
Right.
increase your price to the right price because you're just undercharging.
Right.
And there's a moment of realization there where they're like, wow, like when I look at this over time, I realize I'm kind of putting myself in a really tough spot. And who really wants to spend all their time regretting marketing and selling? You want to be happy to market and sell. Make it fun, you know?
Well, so then yeah, I hadn't really thought about this. I do this with books, but I haven't done this with courses. How do you think about, because you are investing a lot of time. So
Mhm.
I'm working on a course right now that will not be a high cost course. What do you look at the break even point? How do you quantify how much it costs? Because I don't ever think about it takes 100 hours to write a book
Right.
and then it takes $7,000 for the editing process and $3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 for the design. So when they say it's, $15,000, I don't then say, here's what I charge per hour. So let me tack a whole bunch of other money on top of that.
Right.
How do you think about quantifying the investment in creating a course, therefore knowing whether you're losing money or gaining money? Because I've always thought about it as I'm creating the courses, I record the videos, I create the materials, it takes whatever time that it takes. And, I pay for the top and the tailing, the editing of the videos, but that's really the monetary investment, unless there's any design work involved in a workbook or something like that. But I hadn't really thought about it Hi, it's my first day on earth, Lucas. How do I quantify when a course is revenue positive other than saying I spent $300 on topping and tailing videos and $500 on the design of the workbook, so I'm $800 into it when I'm probably $200,000 into it in terms of if I had billed my time to someone else. How do you
Right.
think about it? Because I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, and part of that is because I think you understand that that wouldn't be a very healthy way to think about it every time you went
Right.
to create a course. And so the reason why I created this chapter about avoiding pricing by time and materials before I talk about actually doing it
Yeah.
was to try and give people the idea of like why this can be damaging to your prospects of creating a course, and how you would have a really hard time rolling that cost over to a direct cost to your student.
Right.
So if you were to say, yeah, this course cost me $30,000 to create when I consider my time and
Yeah.
my money that I've invested in other services to get this thing off the ground, that's okay to think that way. But what it's not okay to do is say, okay, well, I expect X amount of sales, and I'm just going to divide that number by this number, and that's my price. That would be a very bad way to do it. So an example
Right.
would be,
No.
if you have $100,000 course, you think you're going to sell 100 courses. Should you sell your course for $1,000 based off of that basic math? No, no, you should not.
Interesting. Okay.
Right? There's not enough thought in that. Also, just because you spent $100,000 creating a course doesn't mean I want to spend that much money on your
Right.
course. And
Right.
if I don't agree with your course price as being realistic compared to the perceived value of the course and all the things that I covered in the 4 points, then I'm not going to actually buy your course. Good luck selling 100
Right.
or 1,000 of that course, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there's the immediate like I guess you could say lazy math answer
Yeah.
is that it's really hard to do it unless you spend low enough and you know you can sell enough volume. So when you think about the opportunity cost, because that's really what I think you're getting at, if we just eliminate the price of my hourly rate, knowing that I wouldn't be coaching 40 hours a week or whatever. Maybe
Right.
I coach 20 hours a week. I'm going to dedicate 10 hours a week to doing this. I'm doing that for other value reasons besides just making some money
Right.
on an hour by hour exchange.
Right.
I want to create something that's mildly or mostly passive, and it's going
Right.
to be a stepping stone in my business that might actually bring me more money in the end, kind of like the book, right?
Right.
So I look at my courses as a product in my product ladder, stepping up to my higher level services.
Yep.
Maybe it's
Yep.
between my higher end consulting and my books. In
Yep.
between that, I
Yep.
could put courses and there will be some passive sales. But when I do have clients that come to me and say, hey, we're a business, we're creating this course, we're going to
Right.
sell this course,
Right.
I ask them, is this a long term or a short term investment for you? Are you going
Mm.
to keep this product on the shelf for a while? If the answer is yes, I think you should absolutely do it. If the answer is no, we're only going to sell it for this very short time to this very select audience, I'd say we need to talk about your opportunity cost,
Right. Makes
right?
sense.
Now
Because
I
I've
have,
always just looked at it like I invested the $800. I
yeah,
don't look at it like
yeah,
it took me 4 hours this day and 5 hours this day and six
right,
hours this day and a total of this many hours. Even if I gave it a value of $100 an hour, right? I
right,
don't factor that in. What are my hard
right,
costs? Where did I put money out to
right.
pay for this? And so I can recoup that and I consider myself in the black after that, which I wonder if that positive energy and positive thought about it actually factors into the fact that it then keeps selling.
Well, the way I try to tell people to think about this, and then I'll move to this question real quick so we don't run out of time. But um, if I'm actually turning down something to do it, that's a different story than I could have been, right? So let's say I get a flood of people asking me for coaching this week, and I have to say no because I'm creating a course.
Right.
That's different than maybe I have an hour open next week to work on my course and there's no one asking for that hour of coaching, but it's equivalent to an hour of my time on the clock. I always say it's a bit of a different scenario if you're literally turning down money to try and create the course rather than spending the time going to make it. So there's a little bit of that back and forth, but when it's right. You can feel it. And my bigger thing is setting up healthy expectations on the back end of the course development, because you can spend $30,000, you could spend $60,000, you could spend $1,000 creating your course. But if on the back end, you know, you can't meet the goals and expectations of making a positive dollar on that because you're not willing to market, you're not willing to play in the volume game you need to at the price you are, or all
Yep.
those things, you need to stop. Right? It
It's
needs to
like a
have a
book. If you have a book,
right.
but you don't market your book, if you just put
Exactly.
it up on Amazon and go, I hope it works. Well,
Right.
the chances of a lightning strike for you are less than an actual lightning strike for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you know you don't want to put a lot of effort into marketing and selling that book, maybe the investment's not worth as much as
Right.
if you would,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this question was how much does your competitor influence your price? I'll keep this as basic as I possibly can. You need to be aware of your competitor's price, but you do not want to get in a race to the bottom. Meaning, if you start like competing on price, you're inevitably just going to drive each other to the bottom of the market. And so I feel like you need to be aware of the price, but mostly because you just need to know what the landscape looks like and you need to understand what other people are willing to spend on a product equivalent to yours.
Yeah.
But it's never, I'm going to charge my competitors' prices without thinking more about this. It gives
Right.
you a good starting point, but you got to be careful because it's much harder to go up in price in some situations than it is to go down. And if your competitor's already bottom of the market price, do you really want to compete on price with that person? Probably not. You would rather compete on value. Bring your price up, bring your value up, and beat them on value at a higher price rather than try and beat them at price.
Well, and
Um,
the bottom is a place where you have a lot more issues too. You will get more people asking for refunds for a $29 course than you will a $2,900 course.
that's right. Absolutely. You are dealing with a totally different audience.
Yep.
Hands down. Yes. And we have seen that and felt that, haven't we?
You sure have.
Last point here. Pops asked if is it should you consider maintaining, updating your course is to keep it relevant? It is time consuming? Yes. So I call this course maintenance. It is something you have to consider when you do price a course, and you have to worry about time and materials. I talk about this in the time and materials chapter. That
Yep.
the more live interactivity, the more you involved in the delivery, the more you need to consider time and materials. So if you're expending time and you're expending materials every time you deliver that course to a student, time and materials has a greater impact on your price. If it's a completely passive course, it has very little. So yes, you do have to worry about maintenance. Yes, you do have to worry about pricing it so that you are delivering the course for the right price. This is one of the reasons I say format is most important. So if it's live or hybrid, your time is very much tied to the delivery and the cost of the product. So like the courses I deliver to the Navy or the Coast Guard live are a way different price than my online courses because I have to stop everything to do it
Yep.
and spend time with those people and produce those materials and everything on the spot. Much higher price course than if it was a passive on demand course. Some people will get all wound up hearing that and go, well, whether it's on demand or live shouldn't matter. It does when I have to spend 4 days delivering that course, 4 full days, and you want it 5, 6, 7 times a month, right? Like that's a full month. Now I don't have any opportunity to do anything else. That is worth more
Yep.
than if I hadn't. So,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Miss Honoree, I know we have a very tight schedule to maintain today.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this topic with people.
Well, this is not the last time we're going to talk about it because this is a very important subject. And we could probably take each one of the things that you talked about, competitors or low cost courses versus high price courses and all of that. I'm wondering if you have created like a matrix or something where you take your 4 factors and you say, if this is this and this is this and this is this, right? You can go, okay, well then your output would be probably that. I mean, I wonder if you have a tool like that or would consider creating a tool like that. All of that to say we're at time, but there's a lot more for us to discuss on this topic. So I think we need to just add it to our queue for future lives, especially as we get closer to the launch of the book, which is September
18th.
September 18th. So coming in hot.
Yes.
So as we lead up to it, everyone you probably want to expect us to talk about courses and course pricing and course pricing strategies over the next, I don't know, 16 weeks or so. So Come on back.
Yes, ma'am. All right, guys. Well, you know where to find us every Thursday live at noon, unless there's a major holiday or we're on vacation. We're right here. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places. And our recorded sessions, not necessarily just the straight live sessions, can also be found on our podcast. So check out the Empire Builders Masterclass. And you can find that on any of the podcast platforms if you're choosing. So
Awesome.
awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody. Thanks, Lucas. Thanks for sharing your expertise. Like
Yes,
there's so many things to consider. So fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It is fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.